Howdy folks, and welcome back to another Grid Intermediate Blender tutorial. And today we're going to look at making some grass, so hopefully you'll find it interesting. Now before we start, I'm just going to show you that in my preferences I have enabled images. I'm just searching for them, so import images as planes, I've got that enabled, and I've also got enabled the Node Wrangler. So once you've enabled those, you can go down to the little menu there and save your preferences. I'll put a link to the textures in the video description, but I've already downloaded those, and in fact it's from cc0textures.com, I believe. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is add images as a plane. So image as a plane, and I've already got them downloaded to my desktop. So, and the one I'm using is the 2K Foliage 001. So I'm just going to load in the colour map. So import images as planes. I can't see anything at the moment because we just need to enable the preview, the shader preview. I'm also using, if I go into properties and go to the scene settings, you can see that I'm using Eevee. So we're currently using Eevee to do this with. So whilst I'm doing that, I'm just going to get up some reference on another screen here, so that I don't tell you to do the wrong thing. Hopefully I will tell you how to do the right thing, because we have some interesting node setups. So I'm just loading in another texture on my other screen here, so that I can see what I'm doing. So we've got our grass texture, so I'm just going to go into edit mode, and I just want to isolate, in fact I'm going to turn that round, I just want to isolate one of these blades of grass. So I'm just going to put in a loop cut. I'm going to put in a probably, I think I'm just going to put in one loop cut for now, maybe. Let's have this one here, and then I'm going to put another, that's Control R for loop cuts. So I'm just going to put in another loop cut at the top here, and then another loop cut just at the bottom. There we go. Now I'm just going to go into edge select, not edge select, face select, sorry. And in fact we don't need those faces, so I'm just going to delete those faces. There we go. I'm just going to press my number key. I think I pressed 3 on the number pad there, and I'm just going to move this so that the grass, the bottom of the grass blade is just at the bottom of the screen there, where the cursor is, just so it keeps it in the right position. And in object mode we can just set the origin to the 3D cursor, really. That's what we need to do. Right, there we go. Now I'm just going to pull my screen across here. Oops. Just going to move that a little bit. I'm just giving myself a bit more room because we'll go into the textures. You can see I've already got some material here that we're using nodes. So I'm just going to go into the shader editor just by selecting the top of the window here. By the way, this lesson is it's probably going to be the one of several. I think this is a bit convoluted. It takes a little while to get set up, and so rather than kind of trying to rush through it all, I'm just going to show you kind of the best I can today what we're gonna do, and we'll break it down into perhaps several lessons. Right, so you can see we've got our base colour here. It's going into the colour from the foliage colour texture is going into the base colour, and it's also going into the alpha, but we can't actually see that at the moment. So I'm just gonna undo that so that our base colour, in fact I'm going to get rid of that one as well, and I'm going to get rid of that one as well. So I've just broken the links because we're going to be adding in a few more things. So I'm just going to duplicate this the colour texture a couple of times, and we're going to change those. We're going to load. So if I just open this and go into my desktop and into the textures, I'm just going to load in the roughness texture. So I'm going to open that image for that one, and then on this one we're going to load in the normal map. So desktop, textures, normal map, and in fact I'm just going to swap those two round. I'm going to put the colour one up there, normal map one down there. Right, so we also need to add in a normal node. So I'm just going to search for normal map. That's perfect. So we're going to take the colour and go into colour, and then from the normal then into normal, and I think we need to set this to non-colour data. We're going to take the roughness, and the colour from that we're going to stick straight into the roughness. Then for our diffuse colour, I want to have some variation for each blade of grass. So what we're going to do is we're going to tweak this a little bit, so it's just not taking the colour straight from this node, so that we can just add in a bit of extra colours. So I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to search for object info, an object info node. So I'm going to drop that down there, and then I'm also going to add in a colour ramp. So colour ramp, there we go. And I'm also going to add in a mix RGB, so let's just search for that. I think it's a mix RGB. Now I'm going to put the random output of the object info into the factor. If I zoom in a little bit, I'm going to make some different colours in here. So we've got a black colour there, but let's set that to a green colour, and we'll add in a few more kind of basically we're just putting in grassy colours. So, and grass comes in a variety of different kind of shades, some lighter, some darker. So we could make this green a bit darker, perhaps a little bit bluer. We could do a yellowy colour, kind of like sun-dried grass, kind of orangey colour. Then we could do maybe a very kind of bluey green colour, and then maybe we'll have quite an orangey colour, and then maybe we'll have another yellowy green colour here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the colour output from here and stick it into the bottom node of that one. And we're going to change it from mix to hue, and then we're going to take the colour from here, from our colour texture, stick that into the top one, and then on our principled shader we're just going to run the colour into the base colour setting. Now we still need to do a little bit more work on these nodes, so I'm going to duplicate this one, and we're going to load in the opacity. We need to make a mask for this because it's got an alpha on it, so we need to load in our opacity texture, which I think is that one there. So we say open that image, and we're also going to add in a transparent BSDF, so we'll stick that one down there. We're going to add in a mix shader, so search for mix shader, there we go. So the transparent BSDF can go into the top socket, the colour goes into the factor, and from our principled shader underneath here, we're going to take the BSDF output and stick it in there, and then we can move our material shader up here and just connect it in to the surface. Now, if all of that is worked correctly, you should see, if we go back to our grass blade, now we've got kind of roughness, normal map, although that normal map is perhaps a little bit too strong, so I'm going to tweak that down a bit. Just going to alter the strength to 0.1, 0.2, something like that. 0.2 looks about right. Right, so let's go back, setting that to properties. That's kind of the node setup more or less done now. So that wasn't too bad, was it? And what we're going to do now is we're just going to do a little bit of work on this blade of grass. So we're going to go into edit mode. We're just going to select one edge with the edge select tool. Just make those windows a little bit smaller. And we're going to do Control R, and we're just going to put in a few cuts to that, a few edge cuts, and then we're going to go to up the top here, and we're going to turn on proportional editing, but the trick is we need it to be connected. I can't remember how you did connected only. I think that's what we want. So it goes to a little circle with a kind of hole in the middle, and we want it to be a sharp fall off. So once we've done that, we can select the top of our blade of grass. We're just going to bend it around a little bit, so we can press G to move it. We can change the scale of our selection area, so we could just move that blade of grass just to give it a bit of a bend on it. And what we'll do is, if I just show you, so if we select all of these and we shift D it, we should see, hopefully, some slight difference in the colours. I don't know if I'm seeing that at the moment. Let's try another one, shift D. Now if we're not seeing that difference, we might need just to go back into the shader editor and have a look at our factor setting here. Yeah, that's, bearing in mind they're not actually separate objects, so they're all the same object. Just changing the settings slightly on my colour ramp. Not that it makes much difference. I guess that's only gonna come into effect once we start separating these out into other objects. Right, so let's go to the UV editor, and we're just going to select the colour. So for this one, let's choose a different blade of grass. So I'm just going to press L to select all of those vertices and press G. Oh, I should be able to take off proportional editing. We don't want to do that. G, so I'm going to move it G and then on X. Let's see if we can find another one. We might just need to scale that a bit so we don't, just pressing the middle mouse button to desect all those vertices, and we want to move those G and on the X, just so that we're cutting off that little bit of grass that's next to us. And then this one, we can select A, and we'll move that G and X. See if we can find another blade of grass. That one there. So we just need to move that in a bit as well, so we can scale it a little bit on the X, just so that we're not grabbing that other bit of grass, and move it over in the X as well. I think that might just do it. And it also has the, just doing that again, oops, scale X. It also has the effect of making the grass just a little bit more substantial. So we can carry on doing this. So I'm just going to show you the basics of it. So let's duplicate this one. So Shift D, drag it out, select all the vertices on the UV map, just moving it G and X, find another one. So that's not too bad. So currently we've got 4 blades of grass, but it's probably a good idea to go through and do it with the rest of them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move these into position next to the other one, maybe rotate it on the Z-axis. So we just want to make ourselves a kind of bunch of grass. So rotate on Z, turn it round a bit, move it about a bit, and if we put it back onto proportional editing, we can still change these blades of grass around a little bit, just to give a bit of variation. And because we've got only connected vertices selected, it's not affecting the other bits of the mesh that are in the same part of the same object. So, and we can just fool around with this. So Shift D to duplicate, R to rotate. On Z we can maybe scale it in the Z direction. Turn off proportional edit in a moment. Just need to take that down a little bit, and basically this is the idea. So we can then select all of these, so just press A, make sure we haven't got the camera selected. No, we haven't. So we can Shift D, we can maybe scale it up using the 3D cursor as a scale point, so scale, and we can just rotate it. Oops! We can rotate it around on the Z a little bit, and we might want to move these bits out, turn back on proportional editing a bit. So we can just tweak them around a little bit as we see fit. We might be wanting to move a few of these pieces around. Mic development, I think. So we could just tweak them a little bit. So, and essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to build up an interesting looking, if I take off the select, if I deselect that, so I'm just trying to get a half reasonable looking set of, bunch of grass blades. So we'll do shade smooth. So we're getting there with that. Now I believe if we go back to properties, I've got my camera set up here. I'm not quite sure what that's looking at this stage. If you want to check, you can always go up to view and go cameras, show me what it looks like in the active camera. So that's currently what it looks like. If I go to the 3D viewport, I can set my kind of axis mode settings to normals, and then I'm able to grab the camera and just push it in a bit, and we can pull it up a bit. And I'm just going to render that, so I'm just going to press F12 on my keyboard, or you can go up to render and select render image. Now that's not looking too bad, but we do need an alpha on the background for what we're going to do later, and I believe the way to do that is to go into properties. I think it's go to world. Is it world? I'm trying to remember which one it is. I think it's scene. And surface background colour. Gotta find out where it is. Background image, is that the one? No, bear with me a minute. This is the one. So I believe frame start. Oh, we're not doing an animation, so I'm just going to set the frame start on the start frame and the end to 1. We're only doing, and I'm going to put my resolution down. We'll only be rendering in low resolution. The idea behind this is we're just going to render out some textures that we'll be using to use. In fact, we should be doing a complete side view, but we're just going to be rendering out some textures that we'll then use as textures on a mesh that we can, bunches of grass on a mesh, so that we can do some grass, maybe some flowers, something like that. So let me go back down to, was it in the film? Yeah, transparent. So I went into the scene settings. We're still with Eevee, and then under the film pull down I've just ticked transparent. So if I press F12 again, you should see that we've now got a nice kind of grass texture with a checkerboard background. Well, it's just a transparent texture. So we will need to make some more of these and save the textures, do multiple renderings. We'll probably use a particle system. We'll make a few bunches of grass, different bunches. Then we'll use a particle system to lay them out in a kind of lots of different bunches in a little line, and then we'll render those out to a texture, and then we'll use that and maybe some flowers or daisies or something as well mixed in with it to put on our mesh, our grassy mesh. So I hope you found that interesting. As I say, this is only part 1 of possibly 2 or maybe 3 videos that cover it. So don't forget, go up to File, External Data, automatically pack into Blend. So that will make sure that your textures stay packed with the file. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting. Give it a like. Can't leave a comment, but give it a like. And take care. Tune in again next week. And bye for now. Bye bye.